Welcome to my dad's car. Enjoy!
Welcome to My Dad's Car, a podcast discussing our personal relationship with automotive nostalgia. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be about your dad's car. It can be your mum's, your grand's, your parents', guardians, or even a neighbour's. If it made an impression, let's talk about it. Couple of seats at the front here if you'd like to join us. We're just about to give away the Ferrari.
The Lamborghini's gone, unfortunately, but the Ferrari remains. There's a Picasso as well.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome along to My Dad's Car at the NEC Classic Motor Show. My name's Andy.
And my name's John.
And today we are joined by...
Hi, I'm Anna.
And for those who are familiar with the podcast, we normally do For the Benefit of the Tape. So for the benefit of the tape, I've met Anna through work. I do Volkswagen and Porsche stuff for work. Anna is influential in the Mk1 Golf Owners Club. And we probably met, 15 years ago, something along those lines. So we've invited you along. You're here anyway, so it saved us on expenses. We'll jump right into it. Do you want to pass Anna a microphone, John? And Anna, what is your earliest car memory?
I think my earliest memory is actually sat in the back of my granddad's Robin Reliant.
Hey, a three-wheel van.
Yeah, so I was actually born into a motorcycling family. And when I was born, my granddad thought, well, she can't go as like a little one on the back of the bike. So I need to get something to ferry her around. So because you could get a Robin Reliant on a bike licence, then that's what he got. Then I was sort of travelling around in that with my nan and granddad a little bit because my mum and dad had got a motorbike and they then decided to get a mini Traveller.
Okay.
And they could get the pram in that when I was little. And I remember my mum says I will always fall asleep other than when I'm driving, if I'm being driven around, because that's how they used to get me asleep. I was a terrible baby, apparently, screamed a lot. So they used to put me in the pram and drive me around in the mini Traveller. So that's what they did originally when I was little.
Fantastic. What colour was the Reliant? And was it a hatch?
Orange.
Hatchback or
It was a van.
estate?
It was a van. Yeah, orange van. And then I think my granddad thought, well, it's not the safest thing to be travelling around in.
No, they're made out of cardboard, aren't they, pretty much?
Aren't they? So without my nan knowing, he went and passed his test. He kept disappearing.
Okay.
I think my nan thought, he'd got another lady friend and he was disappearing. And then he just turned up with a Mk1 Golf.
Nice upgrade.
Yeah, and I think it was probably only a couple of years old. And that is some of my proper earliest memories. We used to go to steam rallies and stuff like that. So this is how sort of the first Volkswagen thing happened, I suppose, really. And then from that, my mum and dad thought, well, and my granddad was very much Volkswagen then. He was like, he hit the Volkswagen thing like, this car's brilliant.
Yeah.
So convinced my parents to get a campervan.
Okay.
So they bought a T2 bay window, and we had that. His name was Phoebe. It was bright orange, high top, and we used to go camping together. So we go, my mum and dad and myself were in the T2, and my granddad and my nan were in the Mk1 Golf with a trailer tent being towed behind at the back. And we had so many holidays like that, all of us together, and we'd meet up. So we'd perhaps be in different parts of the UK, and then managed to contact each other, by telephone box at the time. And we'd then meet up and sort of do that. But I was talking to my dad about it because we've actually found the bay window again. So it's local to us.
Nice.
So it's good.
I was going to ask, was there any breakdowns in Phoebe?
I do remember breakdowns in Phoebe, and it was actually while my mum was driving it.
Coincidence?
It was, I don't know what had happened, but my dad had put some sort of timing mechanism on the engine. And my mum had got strict instructions. If this happens, then you need to go up, lift the little engine bay in the back and flick this switch. And I remember we were broken down on a lane somewhere. And yeah, that was no. She got out, flicked the switch, and off we went again.
Sounds like he was testing her.
Yeah, it did, yeah. I don't know what was going on at the time. But yeah, it was good.
So the Mk1 Golf, that was your granddad's?
Yeah.
Where did he get it from? Was it a second-hand car?
Yeah, it was a second-hand car, but it wasn't very old. I don't know where it came from. I think it had been someone's maybe company car or something like that. And something had happened and they'd had to give it up. But it was a like a metallic burgundy 5-door.
Okay.
It was a lovely car. I remember it, and I've got some great pictures of us sitting out with it with this picnic basket, and I've still got the picnic basket.
Oh, brilliant.
So, yeah, stuff like that, and we've continued that on because we now got a 77 5-door.
Okay.
So I've got bits and pieces that my granddad and Nan had that we still got in our Mark 1.
Do you know what it was about the Volkswagen that kind of turned his eye? Like,
I don't know. He was always going on about, Vorsprung Dirk technique and all this sort of stuff to me as a kid. I was like, that was like ingrained into me as a kid. I don't know. I think he liked the way it felt, and I think he felt it was quite sort of upmarket, I think, to have one.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, it's got four wheels.
Yeah, yeah.
No offence to any Reliant owners in the audience.
Yeah, but I think he thought it was a real upgrade. I think that parked on the street in front of the council houses and stuff where they lived.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like quite a unusual car, I suppose, really, for them.
So did your parents get car licences as well?
Yeah, so my mum learnt to drive. My dad passed his test as well. So they had the Mini Traveller.
Okay.
Then they had the bay window.
Yeah.
And then...
Are they using the Bay as the everyday car?
Yeah, my mum and dad was using that as the everyday, and my dad was using his motorbike still to go to work during that time. And then, yeah, we had the Bay for quite a long time. Probably from when I was 5 until I think probably I was like 12 or 13.
Okay.
And then Dad fancied an upgrade, so we went out and bought a T25.
Okay, yeah.
Just as a panel van.
Yeah.
I remember him getting it because the engine was in cardboard boxes in the back. It was one of the water-cooled ones where the head had fell off.
Yeah.
Basically where the head bolts had rusted through. So I remember my dad building that engine because I was a kid that spent every hour after school in the garage with my dad.
Okay.
Building stuff. My dad can make stuff like on the lathe.
Oh, wow.
And things like that. So he's really good at making things, fixing things. So I remember him doing that and then starting the conversion on the interior. I bought like a conversion kit for it.
Yeah.
And we cut all the windows out ourselves with a nibbler on the drive. And for months and months and months afterwards, I remember getting so many punctures in my bicycle because of all these little bits of metal everywhere. Yeah. Yeah, and I did like a part conversion, and then we went to the Isle of Man TT in it.
I was going to ask, Anna, what sort of things were going on in the vehicle, like music-wise? Was there anything sort of masking the engine noise?
My dad's music was definitely an influence. It was the Eagles.
The Eagles.
Yeah, the
Nice.
Eagles, U2, that sort of thing was like the go-to music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you got kids of your own?
No, I haven't.
No,
No.
oh, okay.
No.
I was going to say, who rules the music in your car now? But
Me, I think. Me and my husband have got definitely different taste in music. I'm really into ravey dance music, stuff like that.
Nice.
I love that. And in my cabriolet, I like to listen to music of the 90s, that sort of era in my car. So I've got like a good now, I don't know, 13 or something like that I play in it.
Nice.
Does like
Very
a bit of
good.
Yaz, The Only Way Is Up.
Yeah.
That was like from 1991, I think, or something like that.
I think it's good to listen to period-correct music in older cars.
Yeah, I love it. I love that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. What did your parents do?
My mum was a secretary initially, and my dad worked for the water board.
Okay.
So he was out and about all the time, driving round. And my dad loves driving.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where I get it from. I told him that I was coming to do this with you.
Okay, yeah.
And he says, I remember the first time you drove, like, as an absolute memory. He says, I'll try and find a photo.
The first time you drove or he drove?
I drove.
Oh, okay.
I think I was probably like 7 or 8, and they took me go-karting.
Oh, brilliant.
Like proper petrol go-karting, and my dad said he couldn't catch me. Like, I was absolutely flying.
In the veins.
Yeah. It's like that was something to come, I think, of like me love of driving and doing that.
Do you remember kids at school with interest in cars?
No, not really. I think that was what I know.
So it was just Volkswagen, you were just...
Volkswagen, yeah. And I think like by the time I was old enough to drive, my dad was sort of like, what sort of car would you like? And I was like, I want a Golf. Like, that's what I want. And I thought, well, by that time, I think my dad had swapped the T25 and he traded it in for a 16-valve Mk2 Golf GTI.
Oh, lovely. What colour?
It's like a grey, metallic grey.
Okay.
I don't know
Atlas, maybe?
Yeah. And it was beautiful. I loved it so much.
where was he getting all these cars from? Was it new from the dealer or?
Yeah, it was
part-ex?
like a Volkswagen dealers in Stoke called Jervis.
Jervis. Okay, is it still there?
I don't know. It was like a little backstreet Volkswagen specialist. So they took the T25 in part X.
Nice.
I remember it really well because I worked in Stoke at the time. And I remember seeing the T25 in their showroom, and my dad like taking the Golf when we went to get it.
That's a bit of a change, isn't it, from T25 to a Golf?
Yeah, I think.
So was that the end of holidays?
No, definitely not the end of holidays, but it's definitely the end of my dad's camping era.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think he'd had enough of sleeping in a camper van. It was
Condensation on the windows in the morning.
Yeah, well, because of like...
Cold toes.
This is really something that I remember is, as a kid, we had, like the hammock in the front of the camper, like across the front seats. Well, even I got to the point where I was too long to fit in that.
Wind the window down.
Yeah, it was at that point. It was at that point where you're like, no, she doesn't fit anymore. So my mum and dad were relegated to the awning, and I was sleeping in the camper.
Okay. You got the better end of the deal.
I definitely got the better end of the deal. And my mum and dad were like, we can't do this anymore. That was the point where they sold it. And then we used to go a bit more sort of do like B&B type holidays with like the golf pack type with all the stuff in. But yeah, I remember him getting the Mark II, and I thought, oh, it's really nice. I thought, well, at 17, 18, I'm not going to be able to afford like to insure something like that. But we found a 1.3 black A-Reg Mark II.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
So my mum and dad bought it for me. I remember it's £1,000, and at the time, me and Elv were together.
Yeah.
We got together when we were 17, and we went to look at it, didn't we, Elv, and saw that. So yeah, it was
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
3-door or 5-door on the 16 valve? Small or big bumper?
The 16
you tell
valve,
I work in Volkswagen parts.
Yeah, the 16 valve was 5-door, big bumper.
Okay.
It was lovely. I just remember thinking, I love that. That's
They've
really
aged brilliantly.
Nice. Yeah, and I saw. So I had my Mark II for a little while, and then I definitely got like car envy of my dad's car. I was like, I want to get a GTI. So I kept mine for a couple of years, and I said to my dad, I'm going to buy a GTI. I'm going to get one. And my dad's like, you'll never afford to insure that. And then, that's like a challenge to me. And I told my granddad. Granddad's like, I'll help you. I'll help you finance it a little bit if you need me.
Yeah.
And because my granddad was like, oh, yeah, let's get you a Golf, like a good Golf. And that was always the thing. Whatever car I got, I always went to show my granddad. The first person who I went to show what car I got was him. And it had to have the full inspection. Park it outside the house. And he'd like give it the once over and have a look, and he'd go, oh yeah, them alloys, they might, got to look after them and steer them a bit.
And he was mechanically minded as well?
Yeah, he was, yeah. Yeah, he'd been a biker and then done his own mechanics on his car as well.
Are your folks still around, Anna?
Yeah, they are.
Are they still involved on the road?
Oh, yeah. My dad's still got his motorbike that he bought new in 1969.
Wow.
Yeah.
He still uses it?
Still uses it, still riding. My dad's
Amazing.
77.
What is it? Yeah.
It's a Triton.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's got a Triton and he's got a Dresden.
Oh, Triton?
Triton.
Oh, my dad had one.
Yeah.
And my dad had a motorbike accident, age 17 or 18.
Yeah.
Very nearly died, smashed all his leg up on one side, smashed his hand up. He was in hospital for about 9 months.
Wow.
And he had to learn to write again with his other hand. And, he had a Triton. That's what he was knocked off on.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've got a bit of a soft spot for Tritons.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, so he's still got that. Absolutely loves going out and that with his friends. And and he's got the Dresden that is rebuilt quite recently. He bought it as sort of like an unfinished project. And so recently he showed that at the Classic Bike Show at Stafford. And I helped him prepare it to show it.
Great.
Yeah.
It's going to sort of bring the tone down a little bit, possibly. Any interesting smells from these old cars?
Oh, I don't know, really.
Especially the campers. Surely there must have been something floating around in...
I don't know, not so much... I think Golfs in general have got, like, especially the older Golfs, they've got a smell. And we were saying this, like, on our stand this weekend. You stick your head in that, and it's just got this... I think it's the fabric.
Yeah.
That it's got, like, that sort of... Some of it almost smoky smells, partly.
I used to have a few old BMWs, and apparently the lining in between the doors and the, that's made of something that makes those smell.
Oh, like a plasticky
So maybe it's
smell.
something to do with that, yeah.
It's definitely like that sort of, degrading carpet.
Yeah. Well, we've also had a guest, haven't we, Andy, who had was it a Mark II Golf his dad had that smelt of bananas?
Yeah, that was Tim. His dad used to put a banana in the glove box every day for work. So, and then obviously over the years, that just sort of, not the same banana festered, but just the essence of banana in his glove box. Just meant his car smelled of bananas.
I love that. Yeah, brilliant.
Fantastic. Any questions from the audience about Anna's parents' cars? Yeah, we got one from Sam here, who was season 2, 3, something like that.
Is there anything about your parents' car that's put you off or has influenced your decisions about what you buy now in a negative way?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I think the cars that they have sort of these days, my dad had like a Zafira for a little while and stuff like that, and it's like...
Can't get too excited about that.
No, not excited about that at all. And he currently drives like a Ford Cougar.
Great for tip runs, those Zafiras.
Yeah, it is that. It is
very
that car.
good for tip runs.
Good for carting logs around. That was apparently.
It's effectively a van. You get those seats down.
Yeah. And I think everything they had, they could fix themselves. So even if something did break, it was that thing where, well, we can fix it. Like many a time has my dad been on the drive underneath my car fixing something on it, whatever it was. With like when I first got my Mk1. My dad did all the brakes and stuff on it for me and things like that. And, you know, it was something that you could do yourself. I went through a phase of, after I bought myself the GTI, and then after a little while, I went a bit French for a while. It wasn't a good time.
Get ready with that pound, John, just in case.
I had a couple. I had a 306 D Turbo S. And I
say it.
I had a Citroen C2 GT.
The crossbar there, haven't we? Hit the crossbar.
And it was actually that car that made me come back to Volkswagen. Oh dear! Oh yeah, it was falling apart. Like, you know, a few miles on it, and I was like, I can't believe it's only 3 years old and it's going rusty. So I sold the C2 and bought a Mk1.
What came after the Golf GTI? So obviously your dad did a trade-in on the Type 25.
Yeah.
Did he trade the Golf as well?
Yeah, so after my dad had the 16 valve, he then went and bought a 16 valve Mark III.
Okay, yeah. What colour?
Black.
Ooh.
It was lovely.
5-door again?
Ooh, can I remember? Don't know. Oh yeah, the VR6 was in between.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so we had an incident with the VR6.
Yeah.
He ran over someone's exhaust.
That's a strange way to buy a VR6.
Yeah, so he in the VR6, he ran over someone's exhaust in the middle of the road.
Goodness.
And it kinked the car in half, virtually. It went like that.
Wow.
It went up and over the exhaust and bent the roof on the VR6.
Oh, that's not good, is it?
No.
I wouldn't recommend that.
No.
Must have been fuming.
Yeah. It was really, my dad was absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
It was Indian red.
Yeah.
VR6. So he didn't actually have it for very long. And then he bought the Mark III 16 mil after that. Was that 3-door? 5-door? 3-door, yeah.
Can you imagine that phone
black.
call to the insurance company?
Yeah,
like they've ever had that before. You hit what?
Yeah, hit someone's exhaust that fell off, and it broke the windscreen and kinked the roof, and it
sounds like this could have been a clown car.
Yeah. The strut top, it had bent it up by about inch and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's proper broken.
Does sound like a clown car. Just exchange the details, Mr. Tumble.
Yeah, Tumble.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, and I think the Mark III was the last Volkswagen.
Okay.
That he had. And then, I think he went a bit French after that a little bit. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But the whole Volkswagen thing is sort of like definitely from my granddad and my dad.
Do you remember what your neighbours drove?
I know there was like Cavalier across the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vauxhall Cavalier, a lot of Ford Fiestas.
Yeah.
My mum had a little Fiesta for a little while.
Okay.
That's what she had to take me to school in for a bit, a little red one, and then my dad got her a Mk2 Golf as well.
Okay.
So we had, on the drive at one time, we had 3 Mk2s. And
yes, we have got a problem.
I just remember coming home and like, oh yes. And then we used to have to play like Jenga on the drive of like who needs to go out first in the morning.
That either says they're great cars or they keep breaking down and I have one for spares.
Yeah, spares, it was. The one that my mum had wasn't brilliant because whenever it rained, it broke. So something was going on. It didn't like the rains and my mum was like, oh, I can't be doing this. So we did swap that out.
I don't know if Andy asked this. I might have missed it, but is there anything that sort of swayed your granddad and your dad to get into German cars? Because obviously it's always a bit of a controversial thing back in the day to sort of...
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think it was just a chance purchase. I don't know whether my granddad had found out from someone at work, because my granddad was a builder, and I think he just heard about it locally, that someone needed to get rid of it, I think. And
sounds a bit like pub chat, doesn't it?
Yeah,
These
I think so. Like,
Volkswagens.
I need to get rid of this. And and just turned up with it. But it's turned out into like a whole sort of lifelong thing for me.
He won it on a game of pool. He could have lost his house, but he came back with a Golf.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Double this black.
Yeah.
You've got a Mk2 8 valve.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
So Cavalier over the road.
Yeah,
I see a Cavalier, Mk3 Cavalier goes past my house every day. Grey ones.
Yeah.
Great to still see them on the road.
Yeah, I remember that, and friends at the time, like when I was driving around, like that was the era of like the hot hatch.
Yeah.
And like my friends, like when I got my Mk2, they got like little Nova SRIs. We had Series 1 RS Turbo Escort.
Yeah.
But they're all cars that were like affordable. Of like, you know, something that was like $4 or $5 grand, you know, like that's what they were. That sort of time, and we see that now. And the cars that like we did have then, like, my mum and dad bought the camper van because it was cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and now like the value of stuff like that, you see that and you think, crikey, we should have bought a few of them and saved them. And done that. And over the years, you look back and you think, wow, we had one of them, and like the Mk2s, the Mk3s that are coming up, all of those cars are now like, they are the modern classics, aren't they?
Were there any particular journeys in the camper van that's kind of stick in your memory? Kind of any particular long trips or any games you used to play in the car? And are you an only child or have you got siblings?
I am, yeah, I'm an only child. So I think that's why, like, me and my dad in the garage and stuff like that is very much like a thing that we just did. And yeah, we had some cracking journeys. We used to go all around the country at weekends going motorbike racing. My dad was mechanicking for one of the riders who was driving 125s. So, we used to go all over the place. And I remember going to Skegness.
Butlins.
Yeah, up there. We didn't go to Butlins, but we'd be camping in the paddock, like with the riders and stuff. And then we'd go out and we'd go and get fish and chips. And my dad, because I used to get travel sick as a kid in the back of the camper. So my dad built me like this little wooden seat in the front of the van, in between the two seats, with like a 4-point harness. And I remember it had like some like really
and a
weird...
bowl.
Yeah. They used to buy me Joyrider tablets to take. That's what they were called. Oh. Joyrider tablets. So I wouldn't be sick. I don't think so.
No.
They used to just like blame it on like the strawberry yogurt they'd fed me.
Used to be those little wristbands as well. I used to put on, didn't they?
Yeah, all them like little things. Yeah, the little strips, the little strips off the back. Yeah, tried all that. Yeah, I tried all that. But I remember sitting in the front and going to the seaside after we'd been racing, and my mum and dad, like, we'd always have like fish and chips and things like that in the van. I think that's probably what the van smelt of, fish and chips. I was going
to say, if you've ever had fish and chips in your car, that is the most lingering smell of them all. Apart from maybe fox poo, which I would never recommend.
Yeah.
Or gearbox oil.
Yeah.
One moment.
I've got a classic, and it was in essentially a barn for ages. And when I started up for the first time about 3 years, we had the smell of a dead rat. And that I think that's probably the worst.
Yeah.
You might win.
Yeah, I remember like going out getting fish and chips, and my mum coming out of the fish and chip shop, and these portions of chips were so long. She'd bought us like a fish each, and they were massive, and we were like overlapping them on our knees.
Back when cod were cod.
Yeah, when cod was cod. Yeah.
It's not cod anymore, is it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, stuff like
That's
that.
not a fish. This is a fish.
Yeah, it's just the memories of like terrible weather. I remember going out in like all weathers in the van, like snow. You know, when snow was snow.
Yeah.
Like snow drifts
Back
up
when
here.
weather was real weather.
When the weather was real weather, and going out, like my dad was using the van then for work sometimes to go out, and he'd like, well, you're going to have to come with me, can't leave you at home. So we'd be going out, and the snow would be so high. And we don't get that now, do we? Like
we don't.
crazy weather.
We can't really cope with it, can we, now, either? We're a bit scared of a little bit of sleet.
Yeah, a bit of sleet, and people start, don't they? Yeah. I remember going and I took my Mk1 as well to have some repairs done. And it was near Leek in Staffordshire, like a little place in the middle of nowhere. And I set off from home, and the weather forecast had given a bit of snow. I thought, it'd be all right. Anyway, I set off, and by the time I got there, it was like this. And I was driving the Mk1 through this snow. And I got
2.5 foot deep.
And they were like, how on earth have you got here? And I was like, I just kept going. I was like, the big bumpers like on my Mk1, it's like a snowplow, and I just got it. But the problem was I couldn't get back. So they had to take me in their 4-wheel drive back down to the main road to get rescued.
Fantastic. I think that's a great place to wrap it up. What do you think, John? Any other questions?
Sorry to keep harping on about smells. Any smoking in the car at all?
Oh, my mum. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, my mum smoked. My dad didn't. So
Oh,
it was
really?
like, yeah, it's quite contentious in the camper. So my dad would play absolute hell if my mum had been smoking, especially in the golf.
Yeah.
Like that, but yeah. Cause
It's quite unusual, isn't it, to get only half the team smoking and
yeah.
not...
Yeah, only my mum.
What brand on behalf of John, just for his survey?
Oh,
Let me
definitely
guess.
Super Kings.
Oh, I was going to guess that. It was that or Silk
Black.
Cut. Black Super King,
Yeah, Black Super Kings. Yeah,
Nice.
that was the go-to. And when I was old enough, my mum would send me to the shop and I'd be going, I need to buy some cigarettes. And I used to get really embarrassed about buying them.
Underage. Yeah.
Yeah, really funny.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us, Anna.
Brilliant, thanks so
It's
much.
been a real pleasure. And
Awesome.
thank you very much to all you guys out there.
Brilliant, thank you.
So, yeah, that was Anna's episode that we recorded at the NEC on Saturday,
Yeah, excellent. Our first live guest.
which, yeah, I felt went pretty well. There was some good stories in there, wasn't there?
Mm.
It started with a Reliant. I've got a little bit of a history with three-wheel vans.
Mm.
So that was quite nice. And, then we're into Volkswagens.
Yeah, which is now sort of ingrained into her blood, isn't it, it seems?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah. Obviously, her parents had campervans, didn't they? I think, and then her granddad bought the Mk1 Golf
Mm.
and sort of spiraled from there.
As it often does.
Yeah, absolutely. Some nice stories in there, and thanks again to Anna from the Mk1 Golf Owners Club for taking a little bit of time to have a chat with us, with the added pressure of a live studio audience.
Maybe it's quite a pleasant break for her on a busy weekend on her stand there, in fairness. Just to have a little sit down's always nice, isn't it?
Yeah, we did get a little bit of audience interaction on that one. I think we've included a couple of questions in there. There was a few sort of longer discussions we had at the end of that recording, which we'll put out as just a bonus, which I think would distract a little bit from Anna's story. And obviously we recorded it as her story. So, we will put those out. So thanks to the guys who did offer those little snippets up to us.
Yeah.
If you've not caught the episode from the NEC where we were wandering around, that's out at the moment. And, it's gone down pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you to 350 Munro, who bought us some coffees the other day.
Very kind.
Very kind of him.
Yeah. Keep us warm over Christmas, won't they, Andy, those ones?
So, thank you very much. That's most appreciated. And thank you very much, John.
Thank you.
Let's, wrap this up. Roll the credits.
Thank you for listening to My Dad's Car. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please support us. Buy us a coffee and subscribe. And tell all your friends.